Hello, everyone. I'm a woman in my mid-30s, living in Chicago, Illinois. 3 years ago, my marriage to my husband fell apart. The reason for our separation was that my husband and my in-laws were all con artists. I don't mean they were literal criminals, but they were worse than actual con artists. My husband, who seemed endlessly gentle and kind, had been scheming with his parents to get their hands on my family's wealth. I didn't know it at first, but he had intentionally approached me after finding out my family was well off. The shock and betrayal I felt upon learning this truth were devastating beyond description. So, for the man and his parents who tried to trap me in a sham marriage and ruin my life, I decided to give them a taste of their own medicine and serve them a proper, stinging revenge. This is the story of that desperate revenge. When I was first married to my husband, I was quite happy. I believed marriage was about being together through sadness and joy, and looking at my husband, I truly thought I had met someone I could trust and spend the rest of my life with. On top of that, my in-laws treated me wonderfully. They cherished me like their own daughter, or perhaps even more so. The truth is, my husband's family wasn't wealthy, but I was able to marry him because of his character and the kindness of his parents. I've always believed that a person's character is more important than their financial status, and my parents felt the same way. The fact is, my family is quite wealthy. So many men had approached me with ulterior motives. But my husband, Mark, was different. I met him through a close friend of mine. He only knew my profession, not the extent of my family's wealth. In the beginning, I even pretended that my family was struggling financially, but he didn't seem to care at all. He said he was with me for who I was, not for what I had. Believing I could trust a man like that, I started dating him. Of course, when he proposed and we promised to get married, I finally told him the truth about my family's financial situation. He wasn't upset that I had hidden it from him. After hearing my reasons, he said he would have done the same thing and that he completely understood. His parents reacted the same way. To give you an idea of how well he treated me before we got married, there's a saying that a man in love treats his girlfriend like a daughter. That was exactly my husband. However, not long after we got married, I discovered that all of it had been an act to deceive me. The image of the husband who I thought understood me better than anyone, and the image of his always gracious and gentle parents, it was all fake. In that moment, my married life turned into a living hell. But there was a reason I had been so easily fooled by his deception. Before our wedding, he had been truly devoted and kind to me. Even my friends were envious of how he treated me. I remember one day before we were married, I was working late at the office because of a tight deadline. Mark had taken the day off, yet he came all the way to my office with homemade food he had prepared himself. He had made my favorite, a thermos of tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. I absolutely loved that meal. We sat on a bench outside my office building and ate together. "You must be exhausted from working late," he said. "So I made you some of your favorite soup. I tried my best, but I'm not sure if you'll like it. I'll wait at the coffee shop nearby until you're done," he continued. "Just call me when you finish. I'll drive you home." "This is so touching. Thank you so much, Mark," I replied. "And you're a great cook, so of course it's going to be delicious. But aren't you going to be tired waiting for me?" "Tired? Not at all. You're the one who's tired and working hard. Just know that I'm right here. Think of me, and find strength to finish your work. Hearing you say that really gives me energy. Thank you for everything, always." Watching him quietly stay by my side like that, I was just purely happy. My feelings for him deepened with every passing day. I thought I could entrust my entire life to a man like this. I believed he would never, ever betray me. At that time, he was my greatest source of support, and so, we had a beautiful relationship and eventually promised to get married. I went to visit his parents' home for the first time. They lived with Mark in a small, old apartment, but the atmosphere inside was humble and warm. I was incredibly nervous, but his parents welcomed me with open arms. The moment I greeted them, his mother took my hands in hers. Seeing them so kind, I felt at ease and naturally opened my heart to them. "Oh, our future daughter-in-law is here. I've been so eager to meet you. Welcome. It's so nice to finally meet you. Our son has been bragging about you non-stop, and now I see why," his mother said. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, hello. I'm so happy to finally meet you both in person, too, I said. I know I may have my shortcomings, but I hope you'll look upon me kindly. After some pleasant conversation, we sat down for lunch that his mother had prepared. To my surprise, all the dishes were my favorites, and she had even made tomato soup. I know soup might not seem like a fancy meal for our future daughter-in-law, but our son told me how much you love it, so I did my best to make it for you, she said. I hope it's to your liking. Oh, Mrs. Johnson, you must have gone through so much trouble to prepare all this for my visit. Thank you so much for even making the soup, I said gratefully. Of course it will be delicious. Thank you. I'll enjoy every bit of it. Good, good. I made plenty, so eat as much as you like. I'll pack some for you to take home later. Looking at his kind and warm parents, I couldn't feel anything but gratitude. I had seen married friends who fought with their in-laws even before the wedding, but it seemed I wouldn't have to worry about that at all. At that moment, I just thought about how I needed to be a good daughter-in-law to them after marrying Mark. My friends were so envious of me, a great husband, and wonderful in-laws. I truly thought I was the luckiest person in the world. But I was a fool. I had no idea that it was all a well-rehearsed play, staged by my husband and his parents to deceive me. I first sensed something was wrong not long after we got married. A strange, unsettling feeling started to creep in. My in-laws were very interested in me, but their interest was becoming excessive. At first, I thought they were just fond of me as their daughter-in-law, but their questions started heading in a very uncomfortable direction. They already knew I worked for a major corporation and had a good income, and my husband had also told them that my family was quite wealthy. Then one day, they started asking me intensely specific questions about my and my family's assets. It wasn't just one or two questions. They bombarded me with so many awkward inquiries that I barely had time to breathe. I was completely flustered, and on that day, I realized the truth. Their interest wasn't in me as a person. It was in my and my parents' money. It was a shocking revelation. Emily, my mother-in-law began, you've been working hard all these years. You must have saved up quite a bit. What's your exact salary? Do you have any savings accounts or stocks? And how much real estate do your parents own? Is anything in your name? I guess with a wealthy daughter-in-law, we can expect to benefit a little too, right? You must have a lot of money saved up. It's so wonderful that you're well off. It looks like we all have a bright future ahead of us. Our son really hit the jackpot with this marriage. Mom, Dad, what are you talking about to my wife? Mark cut in. Why are you asking about her and her family's finances? That has nothing to do with us. Why should we expect to benefit from her family? If you two are going to act like this, I can't bring Emily over anymore. Oh, we were just curious, as family, his father said. If you don't like it, we won't ask again. Goodness, can't even ask a simple question. Thankfully, Mark stepped in and took my side, but still a strange, ominous feeling lingered in the back of my mind. I got a strong vibe from their behavior. It wasn't just simple curiosity. They were asking those questions because they wanted something from me. It seemed they were already making plans with my and my parents' assets. That's why I felt so uneasy. I didn't show it to Mark, but I began to seriously worry. For the first time, not because of my husband, but because of my in-laws, I questioned whether this marriage had been the right choice. Marriage isn't just about two people loving each other. I had seen people get divorced over issues with their in-laws, and I worried I might become one of them if my in-laws were greedy for my family's money. I decided that if they were truly after our assets, I would have to draw a firm line. At that time, I still had my husband by my side, and I firmly believed he would be on my side. I planned to watch their behavior a bit longer, and if it became clear they were after our money, I would have a serious talk with Mark about his parents. If that was their true intention, I couldn't maintain a close relationship with them. But it turned out I couldn't say a word to Mark about his parents, because soon after, I discovered a cruel truth I never wanted to know. It wasn't just my in-laws who coveted my family's wealth, my husband was in on it too. They were all in it together. I will never forget the first Thanksgiving we spent at their home. Mark and I went to his parents' house the day before to help his mother prepare the holiday meal. We always stayed in Mark's old room when we visited. That day, after a long day of cooking, I was exhausted, and went to bed early in his room. But I must have had too much salty food, because I woke up in the middle of the night, parched. When I got up to get some water, Mark wasn't in bed next to me. I went out and saw a light seeping from under the door of my in-laws' bedroom, which was slightly ajar. And from there, I overheard a secret conversation between Mark and his parents that made me freeze in horror. The contents of their conversation were beyond anything I could have ever imagined. "Are you sure Emily's asleep?" his mother asked. "Mom, I made sure she was sound asleep before I came out," Mark replied. "So, is the plan to get her family's money going well?" "We're going to squeeze every last penny we can out of them," his father said. "It's time we enjoyed the benefits of having a rich daughter-in-law." "Of course, Mom. You don't even have to ask," Mark said. "Do you know how much effort I put into seducing her, even making her that stupid soup? Why else would I have gone through all that trouble, catering to her every whim just to marry her? How did you manage to snag a girl from a family that rich, anyway? Our son's skills are truly impressive." "Well, that friend who introduced us used to talk about Emily sometimes," Mark explained. "She'd say she had this really great younger friend. It seems Emily and that friend were so close they told each other everything. I didn't think much of it, but one day I met up with that friend. I happened to overhear her on the phone with Emily, and just from the conversation, I could tell Emily's family was loaded. I thought, this is my chance. Later, I casually asked my friend to set me up with Emily, pretending I had no idea about her family's money. You know me, Mom. I've always had a thing for capable, rich women. Emily was the perfect target. It was a bit of work to win her over, but it was the best decision I ever made. Who knew her family was even richer than I thought? That's because our son has a good eye for these things," his mother said smugly. "So, from now on, let's carefully manipulate our daughter-in-law and take everything we can. I've been thinking we should pretend to buy a house for you all and suggest we all live together. And here's the best part. The house will be in your name." "In my name?" Mark asked, intrigued. "Yes. Here's the plan," his mother laid out. "First, we suggest moving in together. We frame it as us providing the house. We'll say, we have some hidden assets we never told you about. We'll use that money to buy you a home. And here's the key part. We'll pay the down payment, but the rest of the money, the big chunk for closing, will have to come from Emily and her family. Your current condo is in her name anyway. If we say we can't afford the closing costs, won't she sell her place and ask her parents for the rest? You two were already planning to move to a bigger place when you have kids, right? So we use that. We say, since you're moving anyway, let's all move into a big house together. When the baby comes, we'll help with childcare." What woman would refuse her in-laws' offer to help with the grueling task of raising a child? And if we say, since we're buying the house, let's put it in our son's name, it sounds perfectly natural. That way, we get to live with our wealthy daughter-in-law and her family, making it easier to keep an eye on them and get more of her money. What do you think? "Mom, that's a brilliant idea," Mark said excitedly. "If we're going to do this, we should go big. Let's get a large, expensive place. A 3-bedroom would be perfect. But what if she gets suspicious? Emily and her parents aren't the types to be easily fooled. Who's going to suspect their own in-laws who are offering to buy them a house?" His father chimed in. "We just have to be convincing. We'll tell her we were going to use our savings to buy the house, but then we got scammed out of the money. If we say we were scammed, what can she do? They'll have to come up with the closing costs themselves. And we'll look like kind, generous parents who tried to buy a house for their son. You get an expensive condo, and you become rich just by sitting there. It's perfect." "That plan sounds great, Mom," Mark said. "Let's give it a try. I don't know how she'll react when you suggest living together, but it seems like the best way to get our hands on her family's money quickly." "But Mom, what if she finds out? What if she wants to leave me? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Why worry about that now?" his mother dismissed. "And besides, no matter how modern the world is, do you think it's easy to call off a marriage once you're in it? You've already had a wedding in front of all your friends and family. Most women, even if they found out they were tricked, would just try to make it work. So don't worry about that. Most importantly, Your father and I are confident we won't get caught." "Okay," Mark said. "I'm trusting you, Mom and Dad." Listening to them, my fingertips grew cold, and I started to tremble. My whole life was being used by my husband and his parents. It was then that I understood everything. The husband I trusted and leaned on, and his seemingly kind parents, were all part of the same scheme. They hadn't welcomed me as family. They saw me as a source of money. Their plan was to stick by my side and bleed me and my parents dry. The condo Mark and I were living in was actually my own place, which my parents had helped me buy before the marriage. We decided to start our life there, since there was no need to get a new place. Our plan was to live there for a few years, and then, before having children, move to a larger home. But now, my husband and in-laws were using that plan as an excuse to get their hands on my condo and my parents' wealth. I was so furious, I wanted to storm into the bedroom and confront them. But a cold, calculating calm washed over me instead. Rather than confronting them immediately, a stronger desire grew within me. I wanted to give these 3 people who tried to use and ruin my life a proper revenge. My first thought was to take a step back and play along. I returned to Mark's room and pretended to be asleep. But I couldn't sleep a wink that night. With my eyes closed, I spent the entire night thinking about how to exact the perfect revenge on them. They deserved to be punished for what they tried to do to me and my family. I thought to myself, just you wait. Since I already knew their entire plan, dealing with the 3 of them didn't seem too difficult. Most importantly, Mark and I hadn't filed our marriage license yet, so I could leave him freely at any time. I decided that before I left, I would teach them a lesson they would never forget. The picture was perfectly clear. The house was going to be in Mark's name, and his parents were only going to contribute just enough to make a show of it, with the real financial burden falling on me and my family. Their goal was to rip us off. That's when an idea sparked in my mind. I would pretend to fall for their scam. I would play along with their plan, and then, right after they signed the contract for the new house, I would refuse to pay the closing costs, pull the rug out from under them, and announce I was leaving Mark. I would tie them up in the apartment contract, and then, just before the final payment was due, I would end things with him for good. By then, they would have already sold their own apartment. Unable to pay for the new one, the ones in a desperate situation wouldn't be me, but them. They would fall into their own trap, a trap they set to steal from me and my parents. This wasn't a game where I would be the victim. It was a game where they would be. And the day I had been waiting for arrived much sooner than I expected. Just a few days after Thanksgiving, I got a call from my mother-in-law. When the phone rang, I had a gut feeling I knew why she was calling. My heart pounded, but I took a deep breath and answered the phone as if nothing was wrong. I had to act completely oblivious to their scheme. Any hint of suspicion in my voice could make her wary, so I made sure to sound extra cheerful and friendly. "Hello, Mrs. Johnson. I hope you've recovered from all the Thanksgiving cooking. Are you feeling okay?" "Oh, I'm fine, dear. But Emily, I'm calling because I have something serious to discuss with you." "A discussion? What is it about?" "Well, there's something important we've been keeping from you." "Something important you've been keeping from me? What is it?" "The thing is, we've never been ones to brag about money, so we never mentioned it, but while we're not fabulously wealthy, we do own a small rental property. We just didn't want to make a big deal out of it. You understand, don't you? You own a rental property? Of course, I understand. So, here's what we were thinking. How would you feel about all of us living together? We were thinking of selling our current apartment and the rental property and using that money to buy a large condo for all of us to live in together. What do you think? We want to use our assets to provide a home for you and Mark. A home to live in together? Yes. You and Mark were planning to move to a bigger place when you have a baby, right? So we thought since you're moving anyway, we could buy a large, 3-bedroom condo and all live together. When you have a baby, we can help with childcare. And as we get older, it would be comforting to have you 2 around. It's a win-win, isn't it?" At that moment, I wanted to say just one thing to her. How can you lie so shamelessly? Do you feel no guilt for deceiving people like this? It was astounding how she could lie without blinking an eye, all while planning to swindle me and my parents out of our money. But the most important thing she didn't know was that I was aware of all her lies. So, I pretended to fall for it. I acted like a naive, clueless person. Mrs. Johnson, are you serious? You'd really buy a 3-bedroom condo for us to live in together. That would be wonderful. Of course, it's true. Would I lie to my one and only precious daughter-in-law? There's just one condition. The condo will be in our son's name. Of course, Mrs. Johnson. You and Mr. Johnson are the ones buying it, so it's only right that it's in Mark's name. Excellent. We'll put our apartment and the rental property on the market. It might take some time, especially the rental, but the apartment should sell quickly. We'll use the money from the apartment sale for the down payment. Okay, Mrs. Johnson. I understand. Thank you so much. If we live together, I promise I'll be a wonderful daughter-in-law to you and Mr. Johnson. My husband and his parents were unbelievably simple-minded. As if they were worried I wouldn't believe them. They sent me a photoshopped picture of a property deed for a building they didn't even own, with my father-in-law's name crudely edited in. If you looked closely, you could tell it was fake. But they seemed to think I'd be clueless. They started looking for apartments to buy. The thought of their son owning an expensive, spacious condo seemed to have blinded them to everything else. And just as they planned, they sold their apartment and used the money to make a down payment on a new place. They arranged to stay with a relative in the meantime. And do you know what happened next? My in-laws began to act in earnest to get their hands on my and my parents' money. Believing their plan was proceeding perfectly, my mother-in-law called me, her voice filled with panic. Emily, it's a disaster. A complete disaster. What are we going to do? I think we've been scammed. That rental property we were going to sell to buy your house. Well, after we sold it, a close friend of your father-in-law's was in a desperate situation and asked to borrow the money for a short time. He promised to pay it back right away, but he's taken the money and disappeared. He's not answering his phone, and your father-in-law is in shock. He's taken to his bed. It was almost comical. I knew it was all a pre-planned act to deceive me, yet here she was, putting on a tearful performance. It was sickening. So I played my part and pretended to be shocked. What? You mean you've lost all that money? What are we going to do? Have you called the police? Yes. We've filed a police report, and they're investigating, she stammered. But Emily, it looks like we won't be able to pay the closing costs on the condo we put a deposit on. So, I was wondering, could you cover the rest by selling your current place and maybe ask your parents to help with what's left? If we catch the scammer and get our money back, we'll pay you and your parents back every cent. If not, we'll have Mark pay you back in installments from his salary, with interest. I'm begging you. If we don't pay, we'll lose the down payment we made from selling our home. Emily, please, you have to help us. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, I said calmly. I'll talk to my parents. Please don't worry too much. Really? Oh, thank you. So you and your parents will cover the closing costs. Yes, that's the plan. Please don't worry. I can't just stand by while you're about to lose the money from your home sale, so please, don't worry. But you have to make sure Mark pays back the money he borrows from my family every month from his salary. You have to promise. Of course. Don't you worry about a thing. Emily, thank you so much. My husband and his parents, lying to my face to satisfy their greed, it was disgusting. What was even more absurd was that they all truly believed I was falling for their act. They were so incredibly stupid. I couldn't wait to see their faces when they realized the tables had turned. Honestly, I had a small part of me that was willing to forgive them if they showed even a hint of remorse. But they had no intention of doing so. Soon, they started pestering me, demanding to know when the money for the closing would be ready. I'm calling to check on the closing funds. Is the money ready yet? My mother-in-law would ask. Yes, Mrs. Johnson. The money is being prepared, so you don't need to worry at all. All right. Just let me know as soon as it's ready. If you don't, I won't want to see your face again. Don't worry. You won't be seeing it for much longer anyway, I thought. Whether she saw my face or not, I couldn't care less. They were repulsive to me. But of course, I wasn't preparing any money. A few days later, growing anxious, my mother-in-law called me again during my work hours. This time, she started yelling, demanding the money. When is the money going to be ready? You keep saying you'll provide the closing funds, but we've heard nothing. We're going to lose our down payment. Your husband is so anxious, he's thinking about taking out a bank loan. Your father-in-law and I are scrambling, trying to borrow money from everyone we know. Mark says you just get angry whenever he brings it up. How do you expect him to pay off such a huge loan? Just give us the money for the closing now, or things will get ugly. A daughter-in-law should listen to her mother-in-law. If you keep this up, you'll regret it. Mrs. Johnson, have I lost my mind? I said coldly. Why should my family and I pay for a house that's going to be in Mark's name? If you want me to pay, then the apartment should be in his name and your name. You're the ones who should be preparing the money. What are you talking about? This house isn't for us. It's for you and Mark to live in for the rest of your lives. Why won't you pay for it? So what if it's in our son's name? We're buying you a house, not one for ourselves. Mrs. Johnson, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? What? What did you just say to me? Did you just call what I said nonsense? Yes. Frankly, Mark and I haven't even filed our marriage license. What makes you think I would pay the closing costs for a house that's solely in his name? At the very least, we should file the license, or the house should be in both our names. Do you take me for a fool? If you want the closing money from me, then put the apartment in my name. Otherwise, you're not getting a dime. There was a stunned silence on the other end. And do you know what I did that day? Before Mark got home from work, I packed my bags and moved back to my parents' house. As expected, my phone started blowing up with calls from Mark and his parents. Mark even came to my parents' house, but my parents wouldn't even open the door for him. I had already told them everything, and they were furious. Then, my mother-in-law started sending threatening texts, saying she would make me and Mark divorce. Since we weren't legally married, there was nothing to divorce, but in her mind, I was her daughter-in-law, and she thought she could control me with threats. She thought I would be scared. So, I decided to give her exactly what she wanted. I decided to say a final goodbye to Mark. It was a decision I had made the moment I discovered their dark secret. I arranged to meet all three of them, and the location I chose? A coffee shop near the police precinct where they claimed to have filed the fraud report. I had a reason for choosing that location. Why did you suddenly leave the house? My father-in-law demanded, as soon as they sat down. And why did we have to come all the way out here to meet? If we don't close on that apartment, the deal will be canceled, and your mother-in-law and I will lose the money from our house sale. We'll be destitute. You promised to sell your place and have your parents help. Why are you changing your story now? Are you trying to ruin us on purpose? Your husband has been forced to apply for a bank loan, and we're trying to borrow money from friends. So stop this nonsense, sell your condo, and get the money from your parents so we can close. If you and Mr. Johnson were truly trying to provide a home for Mark and me to live in together, of course, I would do that, I said sweetly. But before that, there's something I need to confirm. I need to know if your story about being scammed is true. My parents always taught me that even with close family, you have to be extra careful when it comes to money. You said you filed a report with the police, so I wanted to verify that. You wouldn't show me the detective's contact information or any texts you received, so I had to see for myself. You said the case was being handled at this precinct, right? So I thought we could all go meet the officer in charge together. Let's go meet the officer now, I said, standing up. What are you talking about? His mother stammered. The police are busy people. We can't just barge in and bother them. Your mother is right, his father added quickly. It's not polite. We can't just show up like this. I'll make an appointment with the officer soon, and we can all meet then. Let's just go home. Emily, this is truly disappointing, his mother said, her voice trembling. How can you suspect us like this? Anyone would think we're con artists trying to steal your family's money. If you keep this up, I'll force my son to divorce you. He works at a major corporation. He's a great catch. He can remarry in a heartbeat. There are women lining up for him. And what's the big deal? Your parents were going to help with the closing, and our son was going to pay them back from his salary. You've got to be kidding me, I scoffed. You're a bunch of scam artists. A bunch of trashy con artists trying to steal my and my parents' money. Trashy con artists? What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? His father yelled. Why are we con artists? When did we ever try to steal your money? Honey, that's enough, his mother said, pulling on his arm. We don't need a daughter-in-law like this. Let's just make our wonderful son divorce her. Did you really think I'd never find out? I said, my voice dripping with ice. You thought I was asleep that Thanksgiving night when you were whispering in your bedroom, but I heard everything. I heard your whole plan. Pretend to have hidden assets, offer to buy a big apartment, and then trick me and my parents into paying for it so you could keep me under your thumb. Are you even human? You shameless, pathetic excuses for people. My words hit them like a physical blow. They all looked utterly stunned. They had no idea their plan had been exposed. My mother-in-law's face went pale, and she started sweating. But even though they were caught, the shameless excuses didn't stop. Emily, it's all a misunderstanding, she pleaded. That's not what we meant at all. We just wanted to live with you so badly, but we didn't have the money. The only way was to get help from you and your family. That's all it was. Your mother-in-law is right, his father chimed in. It was just a pure desire to live together as a family. We would never wish you any harm. You're not really going to leave our son, are you? Please don't. If you two break up, who will pay the closing costs? You and your family are the only ones who can afford it. Emily, I was wrong, Mark sobbed, grabbing my hand. I'll get on my knees and beg if I have to. Please don't leave me. I really, truly love you now. Please don't go. Love? You call what you do love. Do you scam the people you love? I spat back, pulling my hand away. And Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, a misunderstanding? How can it be a misunderstanding when I know you were planning to steal my family's money to buy a house for your son? And by the way, since we never filed a marriage license, there's nothing to divorce. We're done. You said there are women lining up for your son? Then go find one of them to marry him and pay his closing costs. I'm finished with all of you. Emily, no! Please don't leave me, Mark cried. I know I approached you for your money at first, but I truly love you now. I must have been crazy. I never should have done this to you. I was swayed by my parents. I just lost my mind for a moment. It's too late, I said, turning to walk away. If you were truly sorry, you would have stopped this. You should have protected me. So go live your life with your parents and find that rich, capable woman of your dreams. You are out of my life. And with that, I ended things with him for good. Since we had never filed a marriage license, there was no need to go to court for a divorce. I also had recordings of them calling and threatening me for the money, which I used as leverage to ensure they never bothered me again. I told them if they ever contacted me, I would use all the evidence I had to pursue every legal action possible against them. Honestly, I could have sued them for emotional distress and gotten some compensation, but it would have been a long, complicated process that might have required legally establishing a common law marriage, which I wanted to avoid. Of course, if I ever remarry, I'll be honest with my future husband about this chapter of my life, but that's a separate issue. Not that I think I'll ever want to remarry after what I've been through. Besides, even without a lawsuit, they received their punishment. I heard from a mutual acquaintance what happened after we split. My ex-husband and his parents got a bitter taste of reality. To avoid losing the hefty down payment they had made, they were forced to go through with buying the apartment. My ex took out massive bank loans, and his parents went deep into debt, borrowing from everyone they knew. Now, they are working themselves to the bone just to pay the interest and principal on their loans. My ex-father-in-law started working as a security guard, and my ex-mother-in-law works as a house cleaner. My ex-husband, in addition to his corporate job, works a second job as a delivery driver at night. I heard they regret everything they did to me. I hope that by working hard, honest jobs, they finally realize how wrong their greedy intentions were. To add insult to injury, shortly after they bought the condo, the housing market crashed, and the property's value plummeted. They were living in a fancy new home, but their finances were completely ruined. While I couldn't punish them through the legal system, I feel they received a punishment that fit their crime. They learned the hard way what happens when you let greed consume you. As for me, it's been 3 years since I left them, and I'm walking my own path now. I've been promoted at work and have been focusing on self-development and personal growth. My parents were heartbroken for me at first, but they were also incredibly relieved that I got away from people like that, and I think I've developed a better judgment of character since then. I plan to live my life more cautiously and with a more mature perspective from now on. To everyone reading this, I wish you health and a life full of happiness. Thank you.